So here's the thing. I have been so busy lately. It's been kind of crazy. I'm traveling around basically every weekend at this point doing these walkaway rallies, which I love to do. We're going to be in Dallas this week. If you are in the greater Dallas-Fort Worth area, please come out. It's going to be probably the biggest rally we've done yet. But guys, I'm tired. And I think that keeping up with the news every day is kind of starting to take a toll on me to the extent that I kind of have to make sure I'm giving you guys the best information. And so I just wanted to do a real easy video right now. I wanted to do something easy. All I want to do is I want to look at some data from the CDC website. This is literally the CDC website. This is the only thing we're going to look at for our YouTube overlords. All we are going to do is talk about this data provided by science and the CDC about our COVID-19 death data and resources. So let's just take a look. This is the weekly updates by select demographic and geographic characteristics, provisional death counts for coronavirus disease 2019. Now, if you don't believe me that this is just the CDC website, I will link it up in the description below and you can go and check it out for yourself. This was updated on August 26th, so about like 5 days ago from the time that I am making this recording. And this website has lots of interesting information on it about the death rates related to COVID. So let's just take a look here. Age and sex. Table 1 has counts of deaths involving COVID-19 and select causes of death by sex and age group for the United States. So let's just take a look. And we're just going to scroll down to our graph here and see. So deaths of COVID by age. You can see there is a nice big spike right here in April, and then it goes way down, and then a little bit of more of a spike, and then way down again. And what we can see here is that the largest red line is 85 years or older for death. The second largest is 75 to 84. The third is 65 to 74. The fourth is 55 to 64. And then every other line in this chart, all the way down here at the bottom, is essentially ages 54 or lower. So you can see here that it doesn't actually look like there is a huge amount of death based on age under the age of 54 years old. Isn't that interesting about the coronavirus? Isn't it interesting that over the course of this entire pandemic, most of the death has occurred for people under age 54. Now, I don't want to minimize any death. I really don't. But I think that we all do need to acknowledge that there is a difference between someone dying at the end of a long life that I genuinely hope is a very well-lived life, and someone dying at the beginning or even in the middle of their lives. These are different things. And, I'm one of those people that because of my spiritual beliefs, I'm just not afraid of death. I'm not afraid at all. I'm actually kind of excited to see what happens after we die because I genuinely believe, well, I do believe that we don't ever really die. We live on, the soul lives on, our spirit lives on, and all that good stuff. So I'm not afraid at all. But I know a lot of people are. And so, this is a sensitive topic. And I want to acknowledge that. But I want to do some math. Let's play a game called Fun with Math. And in order to do that, we're going to go right back up here to our total death counts by age. I'm going to pull up my handy dandy calculator. Those teachers that always told me that I was going to need to learn how to do math. They were dirty liars because I have a calculator in my phone at all times. So let's just see. Under age 1, and what I want to see here is what percentage of people that have died of the coronavirus so far are under the age of 54 years old. What percent do you think? If you have any guesses, write them down now. So we're going to see that 17 people under 1 year old have died, 12 from 1 to 4 years old, 28 from 5 to 14, 280 from 15 to 24, and then 1257 from 25 to 34, and then 3301 from 35 to 44, and then our last one is 8648 for 45 to 54 years old. And the total of that is 13,543. Now, if we divide 13,543 by 164 to 80, which is the total number of deaths, and multiply that by 100, we're going to get our percent of deaths that are under 54 years old. And that percent of deaths under the age of 54 years old is 8.24%. 8%. 8% of the total deaths so far of coronavirus, according to the Center of Disease Control, is 8%. 8% of the total deaths. Now, again, I don't want to minimize all of the other 92% of the deaths, but let's just take a moment to acknowledge that based on this data, 92% of the deaths for coronavirus were over the age of 54 years old. Many of those deaths taking place in nursing homes. Many of those nursing homes deaths are as a result of people like Andrew Cuomo and Gretchen Whitmer, who housed the sick in the nursing homes. I'm just going to say that. So 8% of the deaths from coronavirus that we shut down our entire economy for, that millions of people have lost their jobs for, that Joe Biden is campaigning to make everyone wear a mask and to shut down the economy again. These are the policy positions that I know of Joe Biden. So here's what I know. Joe Biden believes that Trump is bad. Joe Biden believes that everyone in the United States should be wearing a mask, and he is going to mandate that by executive order. And Joe Biden wants to shut down the economy again when 8% of the deaths are for people who are under 54 years old. 8%. Okay, but let's keep going. Let's keep going and see what other goodness we can ascertain from this. So this is a place of death. I'm not really interested in the place of death, to be really honest. Comorbidities. This is an interesting question. So Table 3 shows that the types of health conditions and contributing causes mentioned in conjunction with deaths involving coronavirus disease 2019 for 6% of the deaths. 6%. COVID-19 was the only cause mentioned. For deaths with conditions or causes in addition to COVID-19, on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes per death. The number of deaths for each condition or cause is shown by all deaths and age groups. So I'm just going to highlight this. The number of deaths of people who died of coronavirus for the people that only had coronavirus and did not have another existing condition, 6%. 6%. 6% of all coronavirus deaths were directly due to coronavirus. The other 94% of people who died of this virus, that again, we have decimated our economy for, that Joe Biden is actively campaigning to shut our economy down again. 94% of the people who died had, on average, 2.6 additional conditions. So, 92% of the people who have died of coronavirus are over the age of 54. And 94% of the people who died may have had coronavirus, but they also, on average, had 2.6 other conditions that could have led to their death. Now, here is my point. A lot of people have suffered in this pandemic. A lot. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses have closed, and they will never reopen. I thank God every day. I truly do. I thank God every day that I have things like this channel and all of you, because I'm going to be honest, if it was just my business, like I'm still doing work with my business, but I lost so much business in this pandemic. In the month of June alone, I lost $50,000 worth of business. And the reason I lost it was not because of the politics shit. That wasn't. In fact, almost all of that business has been rebooked for, I'm actually completing some of the business next month, but also most of it has actually been rebooked for next year. I lost it because I do in-person trainings and I do in-person work, and I refuse to provide my clients with, frankly, crappy virtual trainings that are almost never effective. I hate doing virtual facilitations with groups. Presentations are fine. Like the work I'm doing this week, it's going to be, I'm doing a weekly presentation to a group of people. It's not a facilitation. I don't need them interacting with each other. I just need them paying attention to me. That can work okay. But when you're talking about having team meetings with people, it just does not work on Zoom. It doesn't. It never has, and it never will. And so I lost $50,000 of business just in the month of June over this. I thank God every day I had this channel and you guys to support me to fall back on, because I really don't know what I would have done. I think that, the industry that I work in has gone insane with this diversity stuff. I refuse to do it. I was actually talking with my husband about it about a month and a half ago, that I could have pulled together some insane diversity training just to be an actual grifter on this stuff, but I didn't want to because I don't believe in that training. I don't think it works, and so I didn't do it, and I, made other plans instead. But I am so lucky that I was able to pivot what I'm doing to this stuff, and the vast majority of people, here's my point, are not that lucky. They haven't been. Hundreds of thousands of people have lost their small businesses. We are going to see suicide rates going through the roof, and particularly if Joe Biden gets elected and he locks down this economy again. 94% of people, according to the CDC website, had on average 2.6 other conditions, and 92% of people were over the age of 54. Now, at the beginning of the pandemic, we didn't have this information. We didn't know. I think that Donald Trump probably did as good a job as any president would have done, and I certainly think that he did better than the Democrats, since Donald Trump closed down flights from China at the end of January during the impeachment hearing, and Nancy Pelosi didn't even make a comment about anything until February 24th, when she walked through Chinatown in San Francisco and encouraged everyone to come down to Chinatown. 94% of people had, on average, 2.6 other existing conditions. And 92% of people were over the age of 54. This didn't need to happen. And this doesn't need to be perpetuated. This is ridiculous. I'm not giving medical advice in this video. Obviously, I'm not that kind of a doctor. Go talk to your doctor about your risk factors, but I'm angry. This makes me angry. And it's right on the CDC website for anyone to see, and no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. Unbelievable.